Hey traders, Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're going to be talking about how to find a good day trading strategy. You know, there is an inundation of information online and even books you can read, gurus, trading coaches, strategies, markets even that you can trade. So I've been doing this for about 13 years now. I took out $25,000 in student loans. I lost that in a month, only to take out even more loans. So I wanted to kind of go through some of the steps or some of the things you guys should look for in terms of being able to find a good trading strategy. You know, the industry for the most part is rife with a lot of things that you shouldn't even look at, to be honest with you. So I'm going to teach you about some of the things that I've learned over the years, that I learned after spending, and losing $25,000 by buying things and trying to learn things. So hopefully this will streamline the process a little bit for you guys. It'll help you lose a lot less money when it comes to learning to day trade, and that way you guys can eventually, have the financial freedom and the location and time freedom to spend time with your family, or even, buy that Ferrari if that's what your goals are, to be able to do that a lot quicker. So a few of the topics that we're going to go over: dependence, simplicity, the time investment, restrictions and limitations, risk versus reward ratios, and also the ease of use. Now, the dependency, this is one of the, I don't want to say scams, but one of the biggest tricks, one of the oldest tricks in the book, as I've written there. What most companies want to be able to do is lock you into a piece of software or license so that you can keep paying to upgrade it, or keep paying to get the new improved version, or keep paying to get the better version of it in a seminar. So one of the things that you want to make sure that you always ask or always make sure to find out is that you want to make sure that you're not buying any indicators or software that you're going to have to depend on, right? Always ask a company, no matter what market it is, Forex options, futures, even Forex options, penny stocks, all these markets, always ask, am I going to be able to trade without your indicators or software? Because the last thing that you want to do is have to rely on somebody else for your livelihood. That person can die, the company can go out of business, the strategy, quote unquote, can stop working, and then what are you going to do then? So you want to make sure that you're getting something where you're being taught how to fish, so to speak. You're not just being fed the fish, you're just not using their software indicator. So that's the first thing. And what I would say is one of the most important things, because I think that the majority of the industry is kind of hell-bent on that, where they want to just sell you a piece of software indicators and you have to use that in order to trade. The simplicity. The markets now have been moving at an even rapid pace. The last week in August 20, whenever you're watching this video, the markets literally didn't necessarily had a meltdown, but a little mini flash crash. We had the largest 3-day decline in American stock market history. So in order to make sure that we're able to make money in any kind of market, right? Because the markets aren't always going to be booming and doing well. We want to make sure that obviously we're not going to have to depend on somebody else to make money, so we can make money anywhere, any market, anyhow. But we also want it to make sure that it's a simple strategy, because if it's not simple, the more complicated it is, the more complicated it is going to be to understand the markets as they change. So you want to make sure you have the least amount of moving parts as possible. One, to be able to learn, right? Because as everybody in the industry is always talking about, obviously, the amount of millions of dollars we can make all the time, right? The thousands of dollars I made this day and that day. And the truth be told is that it's not going to be that easy to learn how to day trade, right? It takes a lot of time and discipline and patience. We often have to look in the mirror to be able to change our own behavior and our thought process. So the simpler the strategy is, the better it is, because we're not only going to be able to learn it a lot quicker, but we're also going to be able to change as the market changes as well. When I first started day trading 13 years ago, the market always moved in waves, right? So it would be a few months and then it would change, or 3 or 4 weeks and then it would change. Whereas now the market is changing from one day to the other, even 1 hour to the other, 20 minutes to the other. It goes from, trending and going up to sideways to back down and then back up again. So simplicity is the key. Best to start with a rules-based system. That way you can have clearly defined rules to be able to learn how to trade, and then from there move to what I call as a structure-based system, where even though you are going to have rules, right, those rules need to be bent sometimes. When you have strong momentum, for example, you want to make sure that you can get in aggressively no matter what the rule is, right? Time investment. I was very, very lucky that I started to learn how to trade futures. It was the Russell 2000 that I started on, and eventually we switched over to the E-mini S&P 500. Think about the amount of work you want to do when you want to day trade. Oftentimes when we're doing things like stocks, we just launched a newsletter, for example. It takes us hours upon hours to do research to be able to find what stocks to buy. And that's one of the things that you have to consider. Do you want to go out and spend hours looking for the stocks that are moving, right? Or even the penny stocks, for example, that are exploding or already exploded? Do you want to have to follow people on websites like Twitter and all these other kind of lists that you can follow to be able to find the quote-unquote stocks that are moving? Or do you just want to be able to open up your laptop and trade, right? So think about exactly how you want to trade. There's long-term and short-term trading. At the Day Trading Academy with the Progressive Trading Strategy, one of the things that we do is that we use strictly technical analysis, especially for the Progressive Strategy, where you're able to apply that to literally any market in the world, Forex, futures, whatever. We specialize and teach everybody on futures because it's one of the easiest markets to trade. And there's never going to be situations where we don't have to trade or the government shuts the market down, for example, because it's going down by too much. Last week, for example, if it would have went down 100 more points at its low, the markets would have been shut down. But with futures, we're still able to trade, for example. So keep that in mind, because a lot of times with stocks and some other things, you're going to have to look at 20 different markets, do hours upon hours of research. So keep that in mind. It's easier to trade something like futures, for example, when you're only doing technical analysis and all you have to do is just pop open your computer, read what the market is doing, and start trading. The next thing is the restrictions and limitations. When you're trading stocks, there's a lot of barriers to entry. You need $25,000 to quote-unquote be a day trader. It's called the pattern day trader rule. There's also restrictions when it comes to short-selling stocks. They can be limited. When we were publicizing our results, for example, for the penny stocks that we bought when the marijuana industry went legal in Colorado and California, we lost some money on 2 of those stocks because the government shut them down, because the government supposedly were not viable companies and they were, listing a lot of information fraudulently. So when it comes to day trading futures, for example, there are no restrictions or limitations because it's a completely open market. It's a speculator's market. People, what they do on those markets is day trade. So keep that in mind when you're trading the market that you're going to trade as well. Forex, for example, a lot of you guys are probably involved with Forex and even options. There's a ton of manipulation in those markets as well. It makes it a lot harder to be able to make money in the Forex market, even though it's 24 hours. So all of those are the kinds of things that you guys need to keep in mind when you're looking for a strategy and also wanting to learn how to day trade. So the dependence I already mentioned. Make sure you're not depending on a company to be able to trade. And last but not least, this is one of the things that most people don't consider. Most times in the industry, there's a guru or one trader that's actually making money, right? And everybody tries to trade like that person because obviously he's making money, so he's doing something that works. But one of the things that I've learned over the years is that there are a million different strategies out there for the same markets, right, with a million different indicators that are combined a million different ways. So the key to be able to learn how to day trade isn't necessarily copying somebody else. It's by finding something that works and then adapting it to what you feel comfortable with. That's one of the things that we've been able to do with some of the master traders at the Day Trading Academy, because you watching this video might be a lot more aggressive than I am. You might be more conservative. You might not want to risk as much money. You might not want to take as many trades. So make sure that you find a strategy that allows you to do what you feel comfortable with. It's strict enough to follow rules, but also gives you a little bit of wiggle room to be able to adapt to what you want to do. And, you know, obviously we call it congressive, the strategy that we use, because we want to be aggressive when the market is moving well, but be conservative when the market isn't. So those are some of the things to keep in mind, guys. I'll just go back and recap these for you. You know, dependence, don't buy anything that you're going to have to rely on a company for, specifically indicators and software. Make sure it's simple, the least amount of moving parts possible. You know, there's a lot of software programs out there, for example, that tell you when to go long, these kind of black bot arrow systems. That's not what you want. It's not what's going to make you successful. Time investment, you know, how much homework do you want to do every day? Do you want to trade for just an hour or two a day, or do you want to, you know, just turn on your computer and be able to day trade? Restrictions and limitations, you know, a lot of that applies to stocks and penny stocks, where, you know, the government can shut down the market if they just feel like it. So keep that in mind. You can only trade a stock on a certain exchange around the world. If you're trading in the U.S. or Europe, for example, futures, you can trade anywhere in the world. One of the things I forgot to mention was the risk versus reward ratio. So make sure that your risk is always smaller than your reward. That way you're going to be risking a lot less than what you're going to be making. The key to this is you win more than you lose, so you win more than 50% of the time, and you win a lot more than you lose. So an example would be, I have a 60% win ratio, and I win $100 for every $50 that I risk. Last but not least, guys, I know we have a few more videos in the series. I just came back from a trip from Europe. I want to show you guys some of the pictures from that as well, to kind of inspire you guys a little bit. Next, we're gonna go ahead and record a live trading session. We've recorded a bunch already on YouTube, so just look for the playlist that says those live trading videos. We'll continue to get those going as well. And then part 6 and on, misconceptions of being a day trader, and we'll continue from there. So let us know if you guys have any questions. You can have the website there on the bottom of the video, or our phone number. And as always, stay profitable.